Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at a rifle scope and talking about one of the companies that I'm pretty fond of. And what we have here in front of us, we have a Nightforce scope. And a lot of people's heard about Nightforce scopes. I don't know if anybody's really gone into the history and what makes them so great, but I'm going to attempt to do that today. Now, as with everything, folks, I'm not a historian, I'm not an expert on rifle scopes. This just happens to be the brand that I choose the majority of the time. This scope happens to be an extra one that I have laying around, and I've yet to figure out what I'm going to do with it one day. I have a couple ideas, and maybe I'm going to do one of those pretty soon here. So what this is a Nightforce NXS 5.5 to 22 by 56. Now, what do all those numbers mean? Well, the 5.5 is the lowest magnification that this particular scope will do, and it magnifies all the way up to 22, and the 56 is the size of the objective here on the front. So this is 56 millimeters wide, so that's usually one that gathers a lot of light with a large objective like that. Now this is a 30 millimeter tube here in the middle, so this is a larger scope. It's going to be a pretty high magnification scope. Now, what a lot of people don't know about Nightforce was it was started by an Australian guy by the name of Ray Dennis. He was a dentist that works on teeth in Australia, and he was an avid hunter. Now, over in Australia, he liked to hunt at night, and he really couldn't find a spotlight that was, acceptable to him. So he started figuring out how to manufacture spotlights, and that's how he got started. He had a spotlight that would go like 400 yards, and he goes, maybe I could sell these things. So he started a company called Nightforce, and Nightforce manufactured spotlights, and he wanted to get into the United States market. So he also found a couple shortcomings with the scopes that were available over there, and he found a company in Japan that was able to manufacture the scopes to his specifications, and he said, I'm going to start trying to sell scopes and spotlights. Let's start my own company. So he came over to the United States, and the optics was kind of saturated at the time, and he wanted to focus more on the spotlights. Well, there was a very low receptive to spotlights in the United States because the majority of the places it's illegal to spotlight animals. But to his surprise, people really responded well to his scopes. And Japan glass is usually supposed to be the best. I don't know that to be true, but I don't know what their difference is in any other glass. But I know usually scopes that have Japanese glass in it are usually clearer than the majority of them. So they responded real well. So moving forward a little bit, long story short, he started the company, and he changed the name of it to Nightforce from Lightforce. Now Lightforce, to my knowledge, still exists in Australia. They focus mainly on spotlights, and Nightforce focuses mainly on scopes and optics. Now, Nightforce also produces a lot of scope mounts and rings and different accessories like that for mounting optics, and I use all that stuff, folks. My long-range rifle, I have videos on it. It has all Nightforce rings, Nightforce base, and scope and stuff like that on it, because I honestly think they're the best. Everybody's going to have their different opinions. I'm a Nightforce guy, and I like companies that stand behind their products. And what sold me on them was years ago when I got my very first Nightforce scope. Got it on a used market on a rifle. I changed it over to another rifle. I thought there was a problem with the scope. I called them up. They're like, send that thing to us right now. And they rushed it back and went through it, put a little inspection sticker on it, and there was nothing wrong with the scope. It ended up being the rifle, but the way that I was treated by the company, I've never forgotten it. And Nightforce is one of those companies. You're going to pay a little bit of money for something. They're a little bit higher end, but you get what you pay for, folks, with the customer service and the quality of the product. And Not a lot of these lower end companies are going to offer that. They're going to forget who you are when you have a problem. So Nightforce is one of the companies that I stand behind 100%. Nightforce doesn't pay me to do anything, and as none of these companies pay me. No company pays me to make videos. I'm just telling you, I'm just a fan of Nightforce. So one of the things that the founder of Nightforce noticed was the scopes didn't have a parallax adjustment on it. So he started developing a scope that had parallax on it. Now, this particular scope right here, this one came out, in the mid 2000s. This is their NXS version. And this has what they call a side parallax on it. Now, this isn't my most ideal kind, is these side parallax, but people love them. People out there, they're like the sheep that follow everything. They love this because it's easier. But what people don't understand is parallax adjustments. When you have a side parallax adjustment like this, you have to have an extra glass, extra reflectors in here, and it's not quite as precise as, like, say, for instance, another model Nightforce that I had that has a front parallax adjustment on it, that you just turn this front. A lot more precise. And the other thing about this particular model here, this is more of a tactical battle scope more than a long range precision scope. So these things have open turrets on it. There's no caps on them, and these things adjust a quarter MOA per click. The more precise ones go down to 1/8 of an inch per click. Now, what this thing has is the zero stop feature. So when you zero this thing in at 100 yards, like you usually would, and you want to click up for a long shot, you can return that back and it will stop at zero that you have it zeroed in if you set it up for that. Now, a couple other things about this thing that are different than the more precision things is this thing has a pull switch on the side to turn on the illumination. As you can see, you just pull on it and it turns that on, and you push on it and turns it off. There is no adjustment for how bright the reticle is on it unless you take this cap off and completely take this cap off, disassemble it, and screw it with a little screwdriver underneath there. Now, the more precision ones have an adjustment right here that you turn on the illumination. You can make it as bright or as dim as you want. I think I kind of like that a little bit better, but most of my shooting doesn't involve an illuminated reticle, so it's fine. Another thing about this thing is the eyepiece focus, and I'm not real crazy about the way this particular one works, but I get it. So you have to grip both of these together, these two rings right here, and just pull it loose, and that's how you adjust your that's how you're going to adjust your eyepiece reticle, the focus on that. But it's not quite as precise as a precision long range scope, but it works. But this thing, it says made in Japan. It's all Japanese glass and everything like that. And these things are super, super clear. I mean, you cannot ask for a better clarity when it comes to Nightforce scopes. There's a couple other high-end companies that compete with them, like Schmidt-Bender and stuff like that, Swarovski, and they're all going to be around in the same price range. So this is the company that I choose to go with because of the way that I was treated in the very beginning. I'll never forget it. So Nightforce is one of the companies that a lot of other ones get compared to, like, your lower end scopes, like your Vortex and your Nikons and stuff like that. And people that do this are usually the ones that are like, they are the just as good as people. And I know everybody's heard that, it's just as good as. Well, folks, it's not just as good as. Usually in life, you get what you pay for when you buy something. And this scope here is going to probably be 2 to 3 times what a Vortex scope of the same features is going to cost you. It's going to cost you about 2 to 3 times. They are not cheap at all, but you do get the customer service, you get the after the sale stuff, and you get the quality of it. And there is no comparison between one of the lower end scopes and a Nightforce scope. But anyway, folks, I'm not a scoop expert. I just wanted to go over Nightforce in general, show you this spare scope that I have here laying around, and let me know what you think about it. Thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.